Welcome to this week's Tech Tip of the Week. This week we'll be discussing the Deflection connector tool by stub member. Last week we discussed it by rule, which applied the connectors on each stud, and this tool will allow us to connect only one member at a time. And here is how it works. We'll begin by selecting our beam as well as our stud. In our MWF Pro Suite menu, as shown over here, this week I'm using the Revit 2020, the MWF Pro Suite 7096 build. So we've already selected our beam and our stud. We'll go into our wall model menu over here in our tools and select Deflection Connectors Add by Stud Member. Once we've clicked on that, our dialog box will come up over here, giving us the opportunity to rename it to whichever you'd like. We'll use the Deflection Connector -1 as default. We'll press OK. Another dialog box will come up, giving us the option to set different properties. As discussed last week, we have the beam elevation offset, the beam extension, end extension, the beam start extension, the beam start justification, spacing, stud attachments, and support attachments. In our second tab, we have the connector properties, beam axial angle, beam flip facing, beam horizontal justification, vertical justification, beam family type, cap bottom extension, cap family type, cap top extension, clip family type, and the connection type. By default, we always use the beam with clip. And then on our third tab, we have our connector offsets that you can set over here. You can add or remove. We'll leave everything as it is and click OK. As you'll notice is that as last week, when we created a rule, our deflection connector name appeared over here. But now since we're using it simply for the member, it would appear at the bottom. So we've selected it here and press OK. Now we see that our deflection connector feature was only applied to the stud member that we chose. If we zoom into our connector right here, we can tell that the orientation of the beam isn't working properly. So what we'll do is I will just change the orientation by going into our Revit Properties menu in our cross section over here, cross section rotation, and just change the orientation to 180. And as you can see, the orientation has changed and we're able to connect with the clip to the beam properly. And that is the Deflection Connector Add by Stub Member tool. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.